Hi everyone, I'd like to welcome you to today's session. We are talking trade show marketing in 2022. What we're going to do though is just wait another minute or so before we kick off, just while everyone settles in, gets themselves logged in, gets the audio sorted out. So feel free to make yourself comfortable. You've got about 30 seconds to grab a coffee if you need a coffee. As you can tell, I have a little bit of an accent, so we do have people dialing in from all over Europe. I'm actually in Australia myself. We've got our speakers here. Both of them are currently in Germany. So we are expecting quite a few different locations dialed in for today. And what I might do is just double check and see how many we have on the line at the moment. So it looks like we have a few sitting in and ready to roll, which is awesome. We are super excited to have you here. We are, I think, pretty much on time. So what we might do is get started. I'm going to officially now welcome you to Trade Show Marketing in 2022, where we are going to be talking about trends and ROI. Now, before I get started, I have a little bit of housekeeping I would like to cover off. So I do want to assure you that the session is being recorded today and that we will share a copy of the recording with you over the next couple of days. We just like to do a quick quality assurance before we get that one out to you. Now, questions are an important part of today. So if you do have a question, please pop it into the LinkedIn chat throughout this session. We would love to hear from you, and we will definitely pass those questions along to both Phil and Manuel, our speakers for today. If you come up with a question after the fact, please reach out to Phil or Manuel. Both of them are available on email, and their email addresses are on the screen at the moment. So phil@advideos.com and Manuel's is mobile.bortone@googlemail.com. They would love to hear from you and would happily answer any other questions that you think of along the way. Next, so our agenda for today is incredibly full. We're going to be talking about learnings and experiences for 2020, 2021. We're also going to look into the future and talk about the trends that are coming in 2022. And then we're talking about marketing investment strategies for 2022 as well, so that you can start planning how you're going to find and source leads and manage your customers. Now, with that agenda covered off, I'd like to introduce you to our speakers for today. So I forgot to introduce myself, but my name is Nicole Sterling. I'll be facilitating today's session. We are also joined by Phil Jordan, who is our host for today. Phil has been a serial entrepreneur in Europe and is a recognized high-tech blogger. He was one of the LinkedIn beta tester at its startup foundation all the way back in 2002. And he is the CEO of the award-winning creative agency advideos.com that helps businesses leverage digitization for skyrocketing business promotion. And now our other guest speaker for today is Manuel Bortone from Bortone Marketing Consulting, and has worked for more than 2 decades in several international marketing positions across product, PR, and brand strategies in industries where trade show presence was of paramount. And these sectors are getting transformed at the moment through a massive digitalization of all customer touchpoints. So as an external consultant, he has been supporting small and medium-sized companies' marketing strategies, and he's going to share his analysis of the situation for today. And so on that note, Phil, I've got a question here for you to kick us off. You have obviously been participating in hundreds of trade shows around the world, both as a visitor and an exhibitor for the last 25 years. And you have experienced all the new event forms that the last 2 years have delivered. So can you do a little summary for us of what happened those last 24 months and what the consequences have been for exhibitors and visitors?
Yes, thank you, Nicole. So we all know that we had in-person events until January 2020, which was set as a reference for every exhibitor and visitor willing to meet each other. Those were events that were being held at a regular pace. So whether yearly or every other year, they were either domestic or international. And of course, from January 2020, we had this first wave of COVID, where events were cancelled. So during a few months, nothing happened at all. But of course, trade show organizers started to adapt themselves, and we saw a few months after the first alternative to in-person events with virtual events. They started in June 2020, and we had them for various events, which I will share a few names of for the next slide. So roughly a year after, it's not here exact science, because every country and every continent had its own waves and experience. But basically, in June 2021, we had what trade show organizers called hybrid events, which were mixing virtual and in-person events. So here I have to explain what virtual means and what virtual and in-person means. So virtual was basically trade show organizers proposing exhibitors which did not have the opportunity to come to a live event, to an in-person event, to have a company profile on their trade show webpage where they could list everything about the company, ranging from pictures of their products and services, videos, a company description, also adding all the key persons in their company which visitors could possibly chat with or organize webinar with. So that was something that was pretty new, that the world and the event organizers had never experienced before. June 2021 was a mix of both, people trying to think that we are trying to gather the best of both worlds. If visitors cannot attend an in-person event, then they should have the opportunity to contact and meet virtually all those exhibitors. And now, unfortunately, in December 2021, you heard of many new trade shows in Europe being cancelled, ranging from SPS in Nuremberg to IBC in Amsterdam to Domatex in Hanover, or the Green Week in Berlin, and just to name a few of them. So the question is, what is going to happen in 2022 in type of forms of events? We don't know that, but for sure, this explains how volatile this trade show environment is. Now let us look at the satisfaction level, both from an exhibitor and a visitor's perspectives. If we set the in-person events are being the best type of events, then you should see that they were really the green ones. We were meeting hundreds of persons during a few days, and people were happy. You have the opportunity to meet your clients, your prospects, your competitors, your suppliers, and possibly also some persons you would possibly later hire in your company. That was until January 2020. And then we had, of course, those events being canceled, and people were truly unsatisfied about the situation. Very quickly, we had those virtual events, and the beginning of those virtual events were not that positive. So that means if for the persons who have experienced, for instance, Electronica in Munich, which was supposed to be in Munich and which became virtual, or the CES in Vegas, for instance, then you can all remember all the technical bugs that we had when we wanted to log in or to organize meetings or to do those web conferencing with other persons. So the beginning was really bad, I would say, but it was still better than a canceled event, but was not as good as an in-person event. Then things improved a little bit, and in 2021 we could see already that virtual events were a bit better than the ones in 2020. No bugs any longer, and the in-person event also enabled, although with fewer persons than before the COVID, to have the opportunity to address both the online and the offline world. So that was a bit better than in June 2020, but was not as good as what we used to know until January 2020 in the pre-pandemic time. Again, in December 2021, it is cancelled. And now the question is, what forms those events should take so in 2022, so that we are happy exhibitors and visitors. So here I have a question for you, Manuel, and this is time for you to talk. Is, do you feel that your clients have a very clear idea of what those waves, those stop and go cycles between different event forms? Do they have a very clear idea about those event waves, and do they have a very clear marketing strategy? And if not, what do you suggest?
So good morning, everybody. Yes, I mean, before we talk about what the companies are thinking for next year, maybe I would like just to summarize what was my feeling about what happened in the last months. So basically, as you explain with your graph, Phil, it's very clear that we discovered a kind of new situation, and all this event world change. Um, it tried to restart this summer. So basically, I've been attending in 5 weeks' time 3 shows. But here, and I think this is as well what the company learned, there's been changes into the traffic that were generated in these events. So basically, for me, that when you go at an event, when you can go to this event, you see that there is less people. This is the first point. So companies have seen or heard, okay, there will be less people attending. And for me, one of the big changes has been where is the public coming from? And basically, what some big events were before, with their international fame, this disappeared. And today, I would say happily for an event, when it is, I would say, a very good local event or regional event. So for me, one of the most interesting example was that during some shows I visited in Paris, yeah, you could hear French everywhere, but not a lot of English. And at the end, when you see the statistics of a show, you see that, okay, probably it lost 50% of the physical audience. And a region like Asia, for example, they were not coming at all. And we don't know when, for example, our colleagues from, or the buyers or whoever from Asia will fly again to a show in Europe. Because as you mentioned, we are entering today like a new phase, a new lockdown for some countries. So we don't know. But to summarize, what has been the world of events before, with a lot of people, international, this is not going to happen very quickly again. And basically, you have to consider, if you are a company and planning anything for next year, you will have less people attending events, and it will be more local and regional. So now, to answer your question, Phil, from companies I heard about in terms of the COVID situation, they have no clue. And in terms of decision, yeah, I would say it's very simple. It's on or off. Some would say, okay, we like events, we try, we go, but in most of the, I would say, the approach, they want still to hope they can do events like it was done before. So having, for example, on a trade show, a nice stand and some animation and waiting for people. Or they just say, no, this year, or for, I don't know, the next quarter, the next half year, no events at all. And in fact, you are losing, in both cases, opportunities. So the first loss that you have is when you think to event like physical, you are missing all the digital opportunities, because I think today you cannot plan a strategy without thinking both in person and digital. And afterwards, when you decided not to go to an event, yeah, you are as well losing some opportunities because of new contacts and everything. And we hope that you have done all the countermeasures to make, I would say, the digital benefits happen. But this is, I think, one of the things we need to discuss now, what you should do to have as well like a very good digital return on investment. So, I mean, again, looking and answering to your question, for me, today companies are in this on-off mode, or I do something, or I do nothing at all. But from the trends that we can see as well today, you need to find solution to make the junction between physical and digital. And just another example, maybe before we continue, the role of the event planner, the event manager. For me, something that had to evolve, and I don't know, frankly speaking, what are companies doing, so that the role of the event manager, that used to be some organizational, logistical role, needs now to be dedicated to other communities, not only the people that are coming in person to an event, but all the communities that are interested by the brand, by your product, by your services. And so for me, a strategy will be far in advance to have like the event planner in a company working closely with a digital communication manager, for example, or the digital team. And they need to plan together the new type of events. Yes, Phil.
Yeah, I have a comment actually, and then I will leave Nicole perhaps share some questions that were being asked. But I noticed that also when I was traveling this year again at different trade shows that exhibitors, they were super happy to resume exhibiting again. They were also happy with the output. They were meeting really good, qualified, super motivated visitors, because you can imagine if you come from from another country into as a visitor, you need to be motivated, considering the restrictions and all the things that you have to show, the passes and your vaccinations, etc., all the things. So they were happy, but of course they were also claiming that they were not meeting as enough people like they used to. So if we and that was really easy also. I mean, I could see that. I did some very basic math. So I took the exhibitor number of persons exhibiting at trade shows in 2021 from September onwards until now, and I compared that with the same exhibitors for the 2019 events. And we had like 60% of those 2019 exhibitors coming. And for the visitors, we will never know the exact figures because, of course, trade show organizers are not super proud to say that, I don't know, 50% or 40% of them came. But this is something that you could feel that, during the first day, yes, there were some persons coming for sure. During the day two, fewer, and 3 and 4, there was nobody at all. So it was like, I would guess like 40 or 50% of the attendants really came, but they were happy, exhibitors and visitors.
Yes, I think they were happy because it was a kind of get together again. I mean, there's been months without, having contact and everything, a business contact. So what you say is perfectly right. They were happy to meet people again. I mean, I was speaking with some exhibitors during half an hour, 1 hour, because it was very nice and pleasant, to have contact again. But you are right as well to say that the quality of the contact were extremely good because, as you said, you need to be motivated to go there. So just I would say, opportunity visitors, or, maybe, I don't know, father and kids collecting goodies everywhere. So they were not there. So that's why as well it was quite a positive sorting out action.
Awesome. So we have had a few questions coming in, and I'm actually going to start with one where you mentioned the word trends, and we get this question all the time because given that we're a month now out from 2022, right? So people are wanting to know what are some additional, like you've touched on a couple, but what are some other trends that people need to be thinking about and planning for in 2022?
So you want to start, Phil, or shall I start?
I can start, but you can. It's up to you. What do you prefer?
Yeah, I mean, I can just give a few feeling about the trend. So basically, this is what I was saying before, that a physical event will not be the same anymore. So if you want really to create an event, to be at a trade show, and you want people to travel to meet you, that must be something, I would say, amazing on the stand or at the event, with all this FOMO, fear of missing out. So basically, you have like a great speakers, you have a special show, or you have something that is a little bit different, but of course that you will like promote early in advance, because I think this will be more important than ever than everything that we know from a communication strategy, with like the pre-event, the event itself, and the post-event. This is of course the same, but it needs to be even more, I would say, strategically planned, so that you can, I would say, give your audience or your communities the best, not only at the physical event, but before, through all the possible digital ways. And for me as well, what is important in terms of trends is this live topic. Because we have been used during all these months on home office, etc., to have, I would say, a very easily way of communicating to each other. We have been attending thousands of webinars, but this is something that people are used to, but that they want to experience when it's done with, I would say, yes, very interesting speakers or influencers, whatever. And you need to integrate the live dimension for, I would say, the new way to create events, both physical and digital. But maybe Phil, in terms of interacting with communities, maybe you have as well interesting thoughts, or the trends you have seen more in the digital world for us.
Yeah, sure. And I will also respond to Nicole's question. So Nicole, if you can share my screen, I will show you a few things and explain what happened actually before COVID even started. We have to think that actually COVID accelerated a lot of things, but it started before COVID even happened. Back to 2019, I had already some customers asking me to digitize their virtual showrooms. If we consider that a trade show booth is a showroom, then they wanted to make sure that the investment that they spent for such showroom could be leveraged not only during the trade show, which lasts 2, 3, 4 days, during the event duration, but also after the trade show for all other visitors which would not have the opportunity to meet these clients at the event. So what does it mean? It means that we would come directly at the trade show. We would shoot panoramic images directly on the booth, and then create a virtual showroom which would enable, after the trade show is over, to show what was being exposed during the trade show, add interactive hotspots so that people can get more about the products and possibly get back to the client with their questions and ultimately their orders, because everything is being done so that people can maximize their return on investment and the money. So that was one of the things. And here we're talking really about the pre-COVID thing, leveraging content already existing. But then in 2020, there were some smart companies which were, which had a vision and which understood immediately, like, Toshiba and their spin-off Kioxia. They said, okay, there is a big change that we're feeling already, and we have to leverage our content even before the trade show even starts. And that's exactly what you were mentioning before. A trade show is going to happen. Perhaps, we don't know for sure, but if it happens and if we are able to exhibit, we need to make sure that we start informing our community about our brand, our new products, and have the ability to start communicating with them and then sharing us their feedback before ever before even the trade show starts. So let me show you here. It's what we call again, it's a virtual showrooms which was used before the trade show ever happened, and then again, visitors had the ability to discover already the area that would be after that built in person for the trade show if the trade show would happen. And of course, this is something that we are not sure of, but for sure we could create such a virtual booth so that the company could address its audience for sure without any effect of the pandemic. In 2021, we saw a lot of other things, and you were mentioning webinars. And of course, I mean, if you look at the statistics, you will see that in 2020, there were 5 times more webinars than in 2019. You see chatbots in every website, which is a very easy way to allow interaction with your visitors. And we see also interactive animations. Interactive animations is just another way, for companies to show directly from their website what a product is doing. We used to see this car directly, at the car trade show, but nowadays you can also show it even before the trade show starts, during the trade show, and after the trade show. So basically, you have the visitors coming to your website, clicking there, etc., getting more info, and then adding that to the list and possibly ordering it. So this is really something. This is a trend that we've been seeing a lot. Let me also come a little bit, because that was the question about the future, 2022. What are we experiencing right now is a digitization revolution. So COVID accelerated this digitization, but the digitization is being now revolutionized by companies such as Facebook, which announced with Mark Zuckerberg that they would be called the Meta company, with the metaverse, mixing up all their very famous and successful applications such as the Facebook, Messenger, Insta, WhatsApp, and Oculus. But, Meta was the first company really announcing it, but this is something that has been on for years already, with all the GAFAM investing a lot of money. And already next year, you will see, with Microsoft, which is much more in the office space than Facebook is, they are partnering with Facebook to join community for companies being able to talk with augmented and virtual reality, with immersive experiences. And this is really the next evolution in social technology. So this is something that you will see already on your PC with Teams, which everybody uses. I think there are 150 million users on Teams, and next year already you will have those Meta features available with patches available on your PC, which will enable you guys to meet your clients, all your prospects, and here that will be, of course, necessary to have the right digital tools, also the right products being digitized, so that people can discover things offline. So now I have a question for you, Manuel. We're doing that a little bit back and forth, unless Nicole, you have some other questions that you would like to ask already. But the question is about the budget, and I know that this is one of the most important questions for the persons looking at this webinar today. How should marketing directors or even CEOs think of the future of 2022? How are they going to allocate their budget in their marketing mix between offline, online, considering also this very instable situation with COVID popping up all the time? Manuel, do you have any ideas? What would you suggest us to do for next year, for instance?
Yes. So let's analyze a little bit the situation. So what we have seen so far is that events won't be the same anymore. So you should, if you want to take place as an event, and as we said, the event is an extraordinary opportunity to meet new people and to exchange, and this in real life thing cannot be compared with anything. So that's why this is what we're saying since the beginning, that this interaction between physical and digital is a must. But we said the event will not be like before. So it means, for example, if we look at next year, okay, maybe there will be the wave number 5, 6, 7, we don't know. So, I mean, a brand could plan an event, but from the beginning, they should plan like the digital, let's say, pendant or parallel opportunities, so that you, I would say, take care of your communities. And for me, this is all about taking care of communities. not only just to say, oh, my, I don't know, a nice fan or my nice customer, but this is, a kind of inbound marketing funnel that you try to attract people, I mean, from your community that are just fan to your website, to your platform, and you deliver messages so that I would say with time you convert them to prospect, to people that can be interested with content that you will provide in a digital form. So what you mentioned, Phil, or I can imagine that in your virtual space, you can have here the webinars with your experts, webinars with some key guests, whatever, so that again you will give a new information and maybe you will convert your lead to a customer. So in terms of investment or budget, what does that mean? I would say that in terms of physical events, because we are not sure how it's going to happen, I think you need to resize the way you want to plan your physical presence, I would say, but think far in advance about the objectives you want to have, because the objectives are different. I mean, today you're not going to say, okay, I want to generate like contacts for my salespeople, or I don't know, the awareness of my brand, etc. Of course, but if nobody's coming, then what do you do with your physical investment? So you have to think from the beginning. So again, this is for me the key and the linkage between the event planner and the digital or the community manager, that they say together, okay, imagine if we have just 10 person coming to our physical event. What do we do? And in fact, you take the event as a new opportunity, or to create content, or to create, I would say, contact opportunities with your communities. So what does that mean? That already before the event, you have, maybe some webinars explaining what will be your premiere. You have, and I think really nice, the stand you just shown, Phil. Imagine if you show this stand like 6 weeks in advance or 2 months in advance, you can already tease a lot. Because I remember when I was working in the PR industry, we did events, physical events, before, and inviting guys or journalists or whatever, or key accounts to discover the product. But if this is not possible anymore, then you need to have this teasing phase in digital. Then you have the event. So I can imagine if, for example, you have a small surface at an event, you say, okay, my targets will be, if I have visitors, that we can have a meeting. So you have, for example, a small place for a meeting. But if there is nobody, then I have a corner where I can do like live events that will not be for the people visiting, because there will be nobody, but that will be for your communities around the world. For example, you say, okay, on that day, I will do a LinkedIn webinar. And on the other day, I will be, I don't know, a YouTube live. Or on Instagram, I will be as well some live events. But for me, the most important is not to do that. I would say, oh, look, I have nobody on my stand, I will do quickly Instagram live. No, I mean, you need to generate more traffic. So you need as well to communicate this in advance and plan in advance. So again, for the budget part, I would say, okay, try to reduce the investment, the physical investment, but try to have in mind for which objectives. Okay, still for some physical meetings, but I think it's good if you plan as well all the digital possibilities you need to do locally, I mean physically. This is what I did, for example, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. I had a very small stand on a show, but we had like a small production studio, and we were creating content for our social media. And of course, I had to invest in my small stand, but I knew during this event, because of some people coming to this event, I could create content that I would use at least for 6 months. And then if we say, okay, because we have a smaller surface, I can invest digitally And then, of course, I would consider my communication strategy and say, okay, like a platform like you do, Phil, a video platform, this I can use all year long. And then I will give meetings with maybe my key accounts from Asia on this platform. And maybe I will do at the same time a webinar with the designer or the product manager of my company that will explain to this audience in this virtual room. And I guess it cannot be just a booth on the trade show. It can be like a room. It can be, I don't know, maybe a kind of a garage where you share maybe wonderful moods with something unexpected. And you say to your distributors from Asia, okay, come to this event, there will be something nice. But of course, there will be our product manager explaining the product. And then you can use after the event much longer in the year. So basically, what was your budget previously before COVID could be more or less the same, but I would say 50% on physical and 50% on digital.
Awesome. That is amazing. And it has triggered off a few questions from the audience as well. So I do have another one here for you, Manuel. You touched on a few little communication strategy techniques. Are there any changes in communication strategies due to COVID that you think, some other bits of advice that you could provide? Sarah's asking the question.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Very good question indeed. What I would say is that in terms of the theoretical communication approach or strategy, nothing changed in the sense that for me, you have an event, but you have a pre-event strategy and approach for your communities, and you have like the post-event strategy. So basically, but this requires much more interaction internally in the company between people who are used to do like the trade show or the event planning and the people that are, the digital colleagues doing something else with e-commerce, etc. But I think working in a kind of silo mode, everything is done, in the teams, should not be any longer the case. And they just need to sit together and say, okay, what can we do and take the best out of the physical and the digital opportunities. Yeah.
Go, Phil. It's on to you.
Thank you. Well, I'd like just to bit summarize now because so I was writing notes at the time Manuel was talking. So the first thing that what Manuel said is events used to be organized by trade show organizer, which that was the only purpose of them, gathering as much people from your industry. What Manuel is saying is that now events will continue to be organized by those persons, but also will need to be organized by yourself, you exhibitors, by possibly organize your own event, by gathering your own community, trying to perhaps have your own virtual platform showing a customized space, showing a lab, showing something different, which is really in your industry, and gathering your journalists, your distributors, your product managers, your clients, your prospects, etc. This is something that has to be combined. So both trade show organizers do that, but also your event planners in your company. That's the first thing that he was mentioning. The second thing was mitigating the risk. Yes, you should definitely come to those trade shows. So don't even think that you should stop as long as the COVID is not beaten. We don't know whether the COVID will be beaten at all. So that means, yes, try to attend those trade shows, but don't invest all your budget in those trade shows because you may be disappointed ultimately if they are being canceled or if only 40 or 50% of your audience comes. But whatever you invest into those events, those in-person events, try to leverage this content for digital, so digitally from your website. So for instance, if you say, I'm going to have an animation, a real-time animation showing my product, which I will have available on my tablet, during the trade show, then make sure to make it also available before, during, and after the event. So everything what you try to invest, use it. or what Manuel was saying as an anecdote is, if you are there and you've built already your place, your showroom, then make sure to have a few videos being shot at the place, or make sure to have an agency come and shoot panoramic images so that you have an online panoramic tour available from your website for all other persons who will not come to this trade show. So that's a little bit my so like to wrap up what Manuel was saying. I have two slides, but I would like perhaps Manuel to talk about this next slide. Nicole, if you want to share my screen. This here is perhaps you recognize Darwin. Manuel, do you have a word to say about this slide?
Yeah, I mean, I think the purpose of the businesses today in this COVID time is to survive. But you can just survive, as we can see here, just when you adapt yourself. And for me, adapting to the present time and be ready for the future is, as I said, is really mixing physical and digital. But for me, key is that the communities are, I would say, the base for you to achieve like new customer, etc. So of course, until today, there was like the social media strategies. Oh, we need to have bigger communities. Yes, it's good. You can continue, but we see as well for events, who should come today to an event if it's not taking place? So in the real world, nobody will come. But if you have like the digital solution for that, then you will have, I would say, your fans, your community, people that you may know, because for me, a community, this is as well, for example, all your distributors or all the buyers of big companies that are interested by your product. For me, they are communities, but even people that you don't know. And to contact these people, you need to have like the platform, the tools, and all the marketing strategy to let them come to the platform and make the best out of it. So yeah, I mean, Darwin has a clear vision. Adapt.
Very good. And I'd like also to show a very last slide. It just found this was being posted in this daily newspaper Le Monde, and it's showing that the COVID is basically making it very complicated for all of us. But what I think also what we can understand from this image is, don't let COVID drive your marketing strategy. You can take the best out of it, and it's also the opportunity for you, as marketing director, as an event planner, to differentiate yourself from the other companies, which do not have any strategy at all. They just have this binary, this on-off strategy that you were mentioning at the beginning of this webinar. I will come once the COVID is over, and as long as the COVID is not there, I prefer not doing anything at all digitally, because basically it takes me out of my comfort zone. Don't take the COVID run your life. You can really take the best out of the COVID and seize the opportunity of the COVID to differentiate yourself from other companies. Manuel, you want to say a word, and I think we'll be over.
Yes, I mean, I just want to reinforce what you just said, Phil, that you shouldn't wait that COVID is over. So of course you need to adapt and see the opportunities. So I don't know in the public today who feels confident with building and creating a communication or a brand strategy to go on. But of course, I mean, we are at disposal, because from my side, with the strategic communication approach, or you feel with the digital expertise, I think here we can really support some of the people listening to the webinar today, so that I think they can really go ahead and generate growth into this context.
Thank you. Nicole, perhaps you want to finish the webinar?
Yes, so I just want to thank our attendees for joining us today, and also thank you, Manuel and Phil, for sharing your knowledge and the advice. I've definitely taken a few pointers away for myself. Just a little reminder, obviously we have recorded the session. You can get access on LinkedIn as well, but we'll make sure you get a copy too once we've done a bit of quality assurance checking. I'm sure you've got a few questions. If you haven't had a chance to ask them today, please feel free to reach out to Phil or Manuel. They are more than happy to answer those questions after the fact, even if they come in mind in a couple of days' time. Don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to talk about trade show marketing. So I just want to say thank you again and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.